everybody. This is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay, creator of the Mighty Mascots, and promoter for the Plastic City Comic Con. And I'm here with another comic review. Before I get into that, just a quick reminder that all my comics, Mighty Mascots, Kids Switch, Hero Envy, all of that stuff, available on my website. You can either go to heroenvy.com or recklesssidekick.com. Click the store option and you can see all the books available. Also, all available digitally on Global Comics as well. And then also a reminder, Plastic City Comic Con coming up July 20th, Saturday. We just booked wrestling legend and Hall of Famer Jimmy Hart to join the show. The Mouth of the South will be here in Leominster. So remember, our convention is only $10 to get in. So come and join us. Lots of comic goodness and wrestling, which I always felt go hand in hand together, you know. So, but all right, let's get on to this week's comic review. I am reviewing Cobra Commander #1. This is from Skybound Comics, which is part of Image Entertainment and part of Robert Kirkman's company. The writer on this is Joshua Williamson. The artist is Andrea Milana, colorist Annalisa Leone. Russ Wooten is the letterer on this, and it's got a bunch of covers on it, like every comic nowadays. I never knew how bad the cover gimmick was until I started working at the store again. Man, every comic, it could be, you know, a comic in the teens, and it's got a variant cover. It's crazy. But yeah, I digress, you know. Let's get on with the book. So let me give you a quick synopsis of Cobra Commander #1. I'm going to read this off of the Skybound website. The Cobra threat begins here. In a world where Cobra doesn't exist, one man's sinister plans to utilize the mysterious alien substance known as Energon will send shockwaves across the globe. Who is Cobra Commander? Where does he come from? And what horrors is he planning to unleash that will rock the world and maybe the universe to its core? GIJoe miniseries will introduce the best and worst of humanity in the Energon universe. That's great. It's a great setup issue, you know, and I'll tell you some of the things about it. Like always, I don't like to give spoilers, so I will refrain on a lot of the key elements in the book that I think are nice surprises for fans and stuff. One thing I will talk about that I was actually surprised about is that this book goes back to the GIJoe movie continuity, which was kind of interesting. The original animated one, the one that has like that epic 3-minute battle in the beginning, which is like, I think is the best 3 minutes of anything GIJoe of all time, you know. But yeah, it's rooted in the, you know, the much fans don't like this, but the cobra-la mythology. And I was kind of surprised when I read it. I was like, oh, wow, they're using cobra-la, which is interesting. Because, you know, it's funny, like back in the day, I don't know if any of you had read the Marvel Comics GIJoe series, but the origin for Cobra Commander was much different. He was like more of like a disgruntled used car salesman, and then something happened. I think his brother got killed in a car crash, and it sent him on the spiral, you know, anti-hating America downturn, and you know, and he ends up starting Cobra as like his way to like control the world and, you know, get people under his thumb, basically, you know, which I kind of prefer that origin a little better. I think that one was by, you know, Larry Hama, who worked on most of the GIJoe run. But it was interesting to see Cobra, and I got to admit, like Joshua Williamson, who has been writing a good chunk of all this Energon agenda stuff for Skybound, did a great job with this. And, you know, I never really liked the Cobra-la backstory from the GIJoe movie, but he worked it into this book really well. Like there's stuff in it that you'll remember from the GIJoe movie in the comic in this first issue. And I think the one thing that I noticed right off the bat that I liked a lot about this comic was Josh Williamson has kind of made Cobra Commander a more lethal version of the character. You know, like in the cartoon, he was kind of, you know, he was evil, but he was sort of teetered on the buffoon kind of leader. You know, he was always being foiled and screaming and loved to hear himself talk, that kind of thing. But in this, especially the first few pages, you can see the previews on most websites. You could see how lethal he is, and he's kind of like he's not a joke at all in this, which I thought was great. Like I think Cobra Commander is such a striking looking villain. Like he's just a cool, and you know, whatever version he has, like he has this face plate sometimes, and then he has like the cloth, you know, mask. And I always like the uniform with the Cobra logo, designed by our Plastic City guest from last year, Ron Rudat, one of the best. But yeah, no, he's always like one of those. When you think about cartoons, like Cobra Commander is one of the best villains, hands down. Gonna be top three, anyways. I'd say even number one. I think he's better than Megatron. I think he's better than a lot of the other villains that you saw in cartoons. You know, it's just very cool, and I like that this series is kind of reinventing him as an even bigger threat, which I think is really cool. Really like the first issue. A lot of it was set up, you know, like him basically leaving Cobra-la and going on this mission. I think, you know, to bring all the elements of Cobra together, you know. Um, and yeah, I think this is what this 5-issue mini is going to be. Also, him discovering Energon. The other thing that's cool about these books is that, you know, there's a Duke mini series out, which I reviewed. I'll link that here. And then there's also a GIJoe series that Larry Hama's doing, but that one is kind of its own thing. It's following the original continuity of the Marvel comics and the IDW stuff. So it's kind of separate from what Skybound's doing with the Duke and Cobra miniseries and Transformers. But as a shared universe, if you're following Void Rivals, Transformers, the Duke miniseries, and now the Cobra Commander miniseries, it's a very nice shared universe. And as you read each chapter, it's kind of unfolding different layers of this universe. Like you could tell, like all the creators have, you know, got together and carefully crafted this. So each part is kind of like a key element in the whole bigger storyline, which I really like. I think if you're going to do a shared universe, this is the way to do it. And I hope, I have high hopes that the Ghost Machine, Jeff Johns universe, the unnamed universe, I think it's called, is going to do something similar to this, where they all talk to each other and kind of build on ideas and build a storyline that, you know, expands through everything. So it feels like you need to get every issue so you don't miss a chapter in this larger story, you know? So yeah, I really liked it. I got to say, number one was not much happens. You know, you get a little bit of the origin with Cobra-la, and then you get to see what's happening in the present day too, you know, so you get to see how everything kind of comes together. It is a very good setup issue, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter, and then, you know, the 3 issues after that as well. So I would recommend this. Critique of the artwork. Andrea Milana's artwork is really well done. You could see it here. I think it's solid. It kind of goes between like what you see in the GIJoe cartoon and comics. It kind of fits in perfectly. She draws Cobra Commander really well, or it may be a guy. I don't know. That name's could go either. It's kind of genderless. You can go either way. I'll have to look up to see if it's a woman or a man. I don't know off the top of my head, but Cobra Commander is drawn with like a hat, but he still has the faceplate. Just looks cool in this, you know. And the artwork is good. You can follow. Storytelling is excellent. You can follow the action. You know, if you took the word balloons away, you'd still be able to tell what was going on. Russ Wooten, which I think is one of my favorite letterers working at Skybound. I think he does all these books, but the lettering is really nice, especially the sound effects are really integrated well into the book. I think I talked a little bit about it in the Duke miniseries, the way he used gunfire to like really sell that Duke was being fired at by all these guns. And same with this. There's a lot of cool sound effects with guns and creatures and things like that. So yeah, Russ Wooten is my man. I think he does a great job lettering these books. I would say if you are a fan of G.I. Joe, you'll love this book. I read in the back, Josh Williamson talks a little bit about his history with G.I. Joe and how Cobra Commander is one of his favorite villains. And you can totally see it in the work. But he also talked about how they wanted to, because they're building this from the ground up. So when they did the Duke miniseries, they're showing you the beginnings and the origins of the G.I. Joe team, how they came together. But they wanted to have the flip side. So we wanted to see how the Cobra terrorist organization comes together as well. So that's why these are the two miniseries that start off the G.I. Joe stuff. I also recommend, if you're not reading it, the Transformers book by Daniel Warren Johnson, and also Void Rivals by Robert Kirkman. Those are great. Void Rivals is kind of its own property, but it does touch paths with Transformers quite a bit in there. So I'm curious to see how that all comes together eventually, and how Void Rivals might end up, front and center in this universe as well. So, but yeah, no, definitely check it out. One other thing I wanted to mention, the book seems to be about your standard 32 pages. I think the first issue was $4.99. I'm guessing the subs, the following issues will probably be $3.99. Usually the first one, I've been noticing they've been selling for $5, and then they go back to the $3.99 pricing after that. But it's all in full color. It's standard 32 pages, like I said, and yeah, it's good. I've liked everything from this universe so far, which kind of I figured I'd review them all, because I was assuming I would love them all, and I'm glad that they're doing the retro stuff right. That's like a huge component here. But yeah, check it out. This gets ICR's stamp of approval, and I totally recommend it to you guys. All right, everybody, that's it for this review. Remember, like, subscribe, share this video, and also remember to join us every other Monday night for our live streams at 9 p.m. Me, Johnny, and Harry always get together with some indie creators, and we talk comics, we talk technique, we show off their crowdfunding and their comics, and it's just a good time. And usually when the chat joins in, it's an even better time. So, but all right, everybody, have a great week, and most importantly, read some comics. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.